Hi students, in this video we will be going over the order of operations. Now the order of operations should be very familiar to you. I believe this is something that you've reviewed when you're in elementary school. So initially you guys will probably have a lot of familiarity with this, but we will be going over some more advanced problems since you are already familiar with these operations. So our essential question is, how are the order of operations used to simplify numerical expressions? How are the order of operations used to simplify numerical expressions? So first, what are the order of operations? So the rules for order of operations. Basically, the order of operations are a set of rules that state which calculation should come first when simplifying an expression. And you might have heard the order of operations before being referred to as PEMDAS. So that might be, once you hear that a lot of times you go, oh, I know what this is. And I like the PEMDAS idea, but I do want to make sure that we clarify a few things on that order and how it's written so that we make sure not to make any mistakes. But basically the order of operations are a set of rules that tell you which calculations will come first when you are simplifying an expression. Okay, so these rules, we've got PEMDAS, which looks like this, and the reason it's going to look really weird right now is that first we know that P comes first, and that's parentheses, okay? So what that means is parentheses look something like this, right? And maybe you have 3 plus 4 inside the parentheses. That comes first. That is the very first thing. And then you have exponents, and exponents usually look something like this. So 3 to the second. And 3 to the second would be the same as 3 times 3, which is then 9. Okay? Now, the reason that I have multiplication and division on the same level is that this part, they have to go from left to right. Okay? So if you see division first on the left, then division has to come first. In the same way, if you see multiplication first on the left, then multiplication has to come first. And the same idea applies to addition and subtraction, and that you have to go from left to right with that as well. And I always try to make a special note of these last two parts because honestly, when I was in school, I don't think it was until middle school or high school that a teacher, even really went over the idea that you should be going from left to right when you're doing order of operations. Because of the way PEMDAS is written, for myself, until I was a little bit older, I always thought multiplication came first and then division. However, that will cause errors in your problems. So you have to realize that multiplication and division, you have to work from left to right, and the same with addition and subtraction. So let's look at, I think I have 4 examples for us to go through. Okay, so first thing, do we have any parentheses? Well, this entire thing right here is parentheses. So we're going to focus in there first. And what I like to do sometimes is underline my focus for the problem originally. So I see that the exponent or the parentheses are there, and I have to solve this first. So basically ignore everything outside the parentheses, and now look inside the parentheses and say, okay, should I multiply first? Should I do exponents first, or should I add first? Well, based upon PEMDAS, I need to do the exponents first. Okay? So 5 to the second means 5 times 5, which is 25. And it is so important that you write your steps down like this. I know that some of you guys still think you can do this in your head, and maybe you can with some of these problems, but eventually you're going to see some much more difficult problems, and it's going to be very difficult for you to do these problems in your head. So make sure that you show each individual step. And I do suggest underlining the steps of what you think you should do next. That way you're helping yourself follow the correct order of operations. Now we're still inside the parentheses, and inside the parentheses, ask yourself, should I multiply or add first? And if I look over here, multiplication comes before addition. So the first thing I'll do then is I'm going to multiply. And 6 times 25 is 150. Now again, we still have parentheses. So we have to solve what's in the parentheses first. And 150 plus 3 is 153. And at the very end, we're left with just 7 plus 153, which is 160. 160. So really, that is all that you need to do to be able to solve a problem like that. All right, let's look at another example, one a little bit more difficult. Okay, so as you can see, we've got even parentheses inside of parentheses on this problem. So we know that we need to focus first on this whole section here. Okay, and then try to narrow it down some more. I see another set of parentheses that I need to focus on first, and that's this area right there. Okay, and then within that, I even see that I have exponents, and I need to focus there first. I don't know why that erased. There we go. So I need to focus on 2 to the third power. And 2 to the third power is just basically saying 2 times 2 times 2. And 2 times 2 times 2 would be 8. Okay. Now we still have parentheses, and we have, again, parentheses inside of parentheses. So we know we have to focus on this whole section here, but specifically these parentheses that are left over within those parentheses. And 8 plus 2 is 10. Now again, we still have parentheses here, and inside the parentheses we have multiplication. And 10 times 4 is going to be 40. Okay. Now from here, I see that we've got division and addition. So does division or addition come first? As we can see, division comes first, and 80 divided by 40 is going to be 2. And finally, 2 plus 1 is going to be 3. And that's pretty much it. All right, let's look at another example. So example number 3. Okay, so we've got some more, again, lots of parentheses and some exponents here. So first, let's focus on this large group of parentheses, and then specifically the parentheses within the parentheses. Then ask yourself, should I multiply first? Should I do exponents? Or should I add? And if we look at the order of operations, we see that we need to do those exponents first. So we're going to focus on those exponents first. Now again, 2 to the fourth. One mistake that people make sometimes, they go, oh, 2 times 4 is 8. Well, really, 2 to the fourth is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which gives us 16. So that's quite different than 2 times 4, which would have been 8. And as you can see, although it looks like it's taking a lot of steps, I'm rewriting everything each time and breaking it down step by step. Do not try to do multiple steps at once on order of operations, because that's when I tend to see students make mistakes. Okay, so we're still within these parentheses within parentheses. And ask yourself, should I multiply or add first? Well, based upon order of operations, we need to multiply first. And 4 times 16 is 64. And again, we're still working on these parentheses. And we've got it down to a small group of parentheses, 64 plus 10, which is 74. And now we've got the parentheses all the way down just to 5 plus 74, which is going to be 79. Now our last step, should we subtract or divide first? And if we look at PEMDAS, we see that division comes before subtraction. So 79 divided by 79 is 1. So we got to make sure that we did that division first. And then 21 minus 1 is just 20. And that is it on that problem. So as you can see, breaking it down step by step and going slowly is very important to be successful on these problems. All right, we only have one last example to look at, and this one looks kind of intimidating at first. It's strange because it looks like a giant scary fraction, but it's not that scary. My suggestion on this is, and the only way to really do this successfully, is focus on the numerator and then focus on the denominator. Almost ignore the fraction bar at first. So the first thing you need to look at the numerator. What should I solve first? When I look at the numerator, I see a set of parentheses that need to be solved. And what's 2 minus 5? Well, remember, when we have something like 2 minus 5, we have to add the opposite. So that subtraction becomes addition, and positive 5 becomes negative 5. So I end up with 2 minus 5 being negative 3. So as you can see, I just simplified that. Okay, now the next thing, we don't really have any more parentheses left. I mean, I guess there's parentheses around this, but since there's no other operations to be done inside those parentheses, we can ignore it for now. So that leaves us with exponents, and we do have an exponent to work on. Okay, so 6 to the second is 6 times 6, which is 36. Okay, so our parentheses are gone, our exponents are gone, but I do see that we've got multiplication in the numerator and multiplication in the denominator. Okay, so 4 times 3 is negative 12, and then down here, 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, and so finally, we are done with our multiplication, and we're done with basically all the other operations in the numerator and denominator except for addition. So negative 12 plus 36 is going to give us 24, and 2 plus 18 is 20. And last, this can be reduced and it becomes 6 over 5. And that is how you can write your answer. So although that looks a little scary at first, it really is very simple, and it's probably one of the easier problems we looked at during this set of notes. So that is all the examples that we're going to go over. This should be a pretty familiar concept to you, but if it isn't, let me know and we can review it during class tomorrow if there's still some confusion. So take a few minutes, solve the practice problems that are on the foldable, and input those answers into Edpuzzle to see if you're understanding the material. If you have any questions, please let me know.